So guys, that's right. In today's video, we're going to be talking about headlights. And what I want to do is cover 3 topics with you today. So first, I'm going to cover the specifications that you should be looking for and some of the terminology around these LED headlights or headlights that go on these Harley Davidson touring motorcycles. Secondly, I'm going to show you how to install a headlight on a Road Glide. It's a little more complicated than on the Batwing, but not too difficult, so we'll show you how to do that. And then lastly, we're going to do some on-road at-night comparisons between the stock Harley Davidson Daymaker that comes on the 2020 and newer Road Glides to the Custom Dynamics XX LED headlight. And we'll get into all that right after this. That's right, guys, we're going to cover 3 things today. So first, let's start off with sort of the specs or the technical specs that you should be looking for in your headlight for your touring bike. So the first thing that is often talked about is lumens. So what is lumens? That's the amount of light that headlight is projecting out into the darkness or out into the area in front of the bike. So pretty much just how bright is it? So the next thing is color temperature. So there's a range on color temperature between, I think, starting around 2,000, which is a very yellow light, all the way up to 10 or 15,000 that is almost a blue light. So I think on that higher end, it's probably illegal because it's blue, and on the lower end, you're not going to get much output, and that's probably where you're going to be if you have some of the halogen bulbs, and if you really have those, you really want to consider changing out your headlight. So the next thing you want to think about when you're looking at a headlight is the beam type. And what do I mean by beam type? So is it a reflector type headlight where essentially the bulb is pushing the light backwards and there's essentially mirrors in that housing that pushes light out and disperses it out into the road in front of you? Or is it a projector style, which basically is just shooting the beam straight out, and that typically will give you the most intense light. Last thing you want to look at is really the bulb type, right? So is it an LED or is it a halogen? Thank goodness Harley Davidson has quit putting these halogen headlights in most of the bikes. I think all the touring bikes now have LEDs, so that's an upgrade. But they do have the reflector style LEDs, which, as we just talked about, oftentimes disperses that light, in a broad pattern, but it's not very concentrated and oftentimes not very bright, nor will you get the distance on that light out in front of the bike to give you the best lighted path, especially at nighttime. All right, so we covered all the specs that you probably should be looking for when you're trying to decide to upgrade or change out your stock light on your Harley Davidson touring motorcycle. So let's do some comparison. Again, this is the headlamp that I'm actually going to be putting into the Road Glide. Again, this is the Custom Dynamics XX LED headlight. So as you can see, it has the X pattern in here, and once we get this out in the dark or outside, I'll show you, and you'll be able to see the pattern once we get this installed. But let's talk about some differences between this and the stock Harley Davidson Daymaker, which a lot of people think the Daymaker was a huge improvement, which it is over the halogen bulbs, but really it's not that great. And if you've ridden a while with that, you'll know that they're really just not that bright and potentially not giving you the best view, especially at night when you're out riding. So really it becomes somewhat of a safety factor, although obviously it meets DOT specifications. So we talked about lumens first. Again, that's sort of the output of the light, right? So the Harley Davidson Daymaker on the low beam has 1,060 lumens. Okay, now compare that to this Custom Dynamics. It has 2,400, or more than 2 times the amount of lumens or output on the low beam. Then we switch to the high beam, and the Harley Davidson Daymaker has 1,560 lumens. And this Custom Dynamics light here, 4,100. So about 2.5 times or almost 3 times the amount of light output that you get from the Custom Dynamics. So let's talk color temperature. We looked at and talked about the color temperature a little bit. Now Harley Davidson on their Daymaker does not give you a color temperature. I'm not sure why, but they don't give you that specification. What I've noticed and what you'll see here is that the light is a bit more yellow. So my guess it's probably under 5,000 maybe a little bit over 4,000 or maybe slightly under 4,000, but somewhere in that 4,000 to 5,000 range on color temperature. So it's more of a yellowish white than a bright white. Now this Custom Dynamics, the XX light here that we'll be putting in, that is listed by Custom Dynamics as 6,000 to 6,500 on the color temperature. So it's really getting into that real white, bright white, but not getting to blue. And if you get into that blue range, oftentimes those are actually illegal in a lot of states. So this light is DOT and ECE approved for the amount of output and the color temperature that's on it. Now let's talk about the beam type. So the Harley Daymaker, which I covered just a little bit ago, that's a reflector type bulb. And essentially it's pushing the light back into a mirrored or reflective pattern in there, and it's dispersing that light out. So it gives you a big wide pattern, but oftentimes not the brightest. Now this one, the Custom Dynamics headlight, projector beams on low beam that are right here in the middle, and we'll see that when we get outside in the dark. And then when you go to high beams, it's a combination of the projectors still from your low beams, and then there's reflective LEDs up here throwing out a big wider dispersed area on the high beam. So that's really the specs and the comparison between these two. So now what I want to do is actually show you how to change out the headlight on this Rogue Glide, which in order to do that you have to get this front fairing off. If you haven't taken the fairing off, it's pretty simple. You've got these screws up here on the windshield, reflector air vent up here that you have to pull off. You've got some bolts in both speaker pods. The speaker pod grills off to get to those. Then you have coming in from the back of the inner fairing, you have a couple screws on your wind deflectors. You only need to take out the bottom one. And then you have two screws, one on either side, going your turn signals into the inner fairing to hold it all together. So I'm not going to bore you with all that. There's a lot of videos out there, and I probably have one out there where I've shown you how I've taken this off. But I'm going to go ahead and take all of that off. Then we'll start back up with how you take out the old headlight and install this new Custom Dynamics headlight. We've got the fairing completely off, which reveals the headlight and the assembly that goes with it. So you've got these little Christmas tree connections here into the headlight. So we're actually just going to push those through to kind of get that out of the way. 4 bolts that hold this headlight assembly on. There's one here, one back here, and 2 down here on the bottom. And those are 3/16 Allen. So we're just going to go ahead and loosen those up. 4 bolts out, so now that will loosen this up, and that will just come out. Right here we have the connection for the harness. So you just lift that up, that tab, and slip that out. And then your headlight is free and ready for the new one to be installed. The other piece that you'll need to take off if you want to keep this completely stock is there's some screws here and here that take these side covers off, which you'll want to reinstall that on your new headlight, or if you go ahead and upgrade it this time, which I may actually do and show you that while we're doing this, is I'm actually going to put some vent lights that go right here by Custom Dynamics as well, that will fill this gap and also provide another daylight running light and a turn signal up here on the headlight to give you more visibility when you're going into those turns. So we're ready to put this Custom Dynamics light in, hook this up to the harness. Again, this is plug and play, so no big deal there. Just make sure you get it lined up right. The tab here has to go over this little snap lock here on the top, so lock it in. So now that I've got it sort of aligned in here, I'm going to go ahead and bolt this up in the 4 different positions, 2 at the top, 2 in the bottom, just like we had on the stock one. And we're reusing the stock hardware on this, the bolts. While I have everything opened up in the bike, it only makes sense. I'm going to go ahead and put these Custom Dynamic vent lights on, attach those to the headlight. So I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so to put this on, it's pretty simple. There's a hole in this vent here. And there's a tab on here which will slide in there. And then you have your opening here for your screw that's at the top. Will go into this opening here. And then there's one in the bottom that'll go down in the bottom. So you just get that lined up. Make sure you route your wire in between this connecting point on the headlight and this tab here so you don't pinch it. So just slip the tab in and then get the screw holes aligned, and then just go ahead and put your stock screws back in. and these are T25s. So I got both of the vent lights connected in. We got the headlight all connected in. So I just need to do a little cleanup here. I got to put these Christmas trees back in. And then we're going to move up here. I'll show you how real quick to connect in these vent lights with the turn signals on this. And again, these, I think you can get these actually in chrome with the chrome mesh, or you can get them in this vivid black or shiny black with a chrome instead of a black mesh as well. So a couple different combinations that you can get on those if you want to go chrome versus black. The wiring coming up from that vent light, it's got a splitter on it, and this is not the original plug-in. It's actually here because I have some other custom dynamics lights that are running off the turn signals. But essentially you'll plug this male end into the female end like this. And then you have this additional plug then to actually plug your original turn signals that are out on the fairing. Now once I get this other side connected, I get these wires sort of wire managed. I'll go ahead and start putting on the fairing, but before we kind of close everything up, there's one other product I'm going to put on here before we go out and do some test runs of comparing the stock headlight to the custom dynamics headlight. All right guys, so I'm working on getting this all buttoned up. I've got most of the screws at least in loose, but before I wrap it up, I'm actually going to install these LED windshield trim lights that go up here. Again, these are going to run in white and they're going to do sequential amber. And they'll just bolt in right here once I get the windshield on and hold the windshield on. And they do come with their own screw hardware because it's a little bit different obviously for this. And it does have a wiring harness. And again, that's just going to plug into what we just put in down below. You're going to just put the male into the female like this. And that will plug into this splitter right here. Push that in, and essentially we've got this all connected up. Okay, so I've popped the air vent on the top back in, and you can see I've got the wiring running back behind the air vent for these trim turn signals here. Then you'll put your windshield in place, and you're going to use again the supplied screws that Custom Dynamics sends with this. And there's actually 3 washers that go in here. There's a large metal washer, a small metal washer goes next, and there's a rubberized washer that goes there that'll actually go through the vent trim and into the hole. So just kind of get it all lined up and get them started. And these are actually 1/8 Allens on the end. So you kind of get those loosely lined up so that everything aligns. And then go ahead and screw those in. So I'm going to go ahead and get these all lined up, get them screwed in, and then we'll show you what the final product is before we head out and test this headlight to compare to the stock headlight setup. Finished product. So we got more turn signal, around the headlights as well as up by the windshield trim. You may have to sync this if you don't have any other LED turn signals on your bike. You got to sync the BCM. So essentially what you do is run it in 4-way mode for a couple of minutes and it will sync everything up. There we have all white running lights up front now, so you have them around the headlight. We've got the X pattern headlights. We've got the Gen 4 turn signals down below that. Then obviously we've got the turn signal daytime running lights up on the windshield trim. And then we've got those fog lights down below that we installed in a previous video, and I'll have a link to that video down in the description if you're interested in learning more about those as well. All right guys, so now that we've got everything installed, we're going to go ahead and compare this headlight to the stock Harley Davidson headlight. Again, I've added some other components, but that really won't affect the throw of the light out on the road. I think we're going to get an apples to apples comparison between this Custom Dynamics Double X headlight and the Harley Davidson Daymaker. So I'll see you out on the road next. You saw probably the Harley Davidson Daymaker Big disbursement of light, but not very intense, versus the Custom Dynamics with that projector beam, very bright white light, and again, much wider than the Harley Davidson. So leave some comments down below, guys. What did you think of the comparison of those two headlights? Which one would you go with if you were going to upgrade your headlight? Is there another headlight that you might select over this? Again, this is a XX Custom Dynamics, lifetime LED guarantee on those, versus a Harley. Any Harley lights is only a 1-year guarantee on the LEDs. Better warranty from Custom Dynamics. Also, we installed some of these trim lights up here on the windshield. We installed these day running lights down here in the vent lights, which gives you some more daytime running light, as well as additional flash when you are going into a turn, so that people can see at a higher level. You've got turn signals all the way up and down this. As you know, I got Custom Dynamics all over this bike. We've even got turn signals down on the forks, and we've got them in the saddlebag latches themselves. So I'm really visible from the side, the front, and visible from the back as well with all of this lighting that I put on this bike. Provides another level of safety so that I can be seen either day or night on this bike, which is important to me, because at the end of the day, I want to come home safe to my family. Guys, before I wrap up, I do want to tell you there is something really exciting that I have coming up, I think next week, on next week's video, and that is a product from Hogworks that is not even in the marketplace. I will be, I believe, the first YouTube channel to premiere this product, which is not even available to the public yet. So stay tuned for that one. Hopefully next week, if the weather holds here in the St. Louis area. If not, pretty shortly thereafter. So guys, if you like this type of content, please give it a thumbs up. Also consider sharing this with your friends, so the like-minded individuals might check out this video and see what they think of these lighting options. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button right down here. It really helps out the channel, and I really appreciate it. And when you do subscribe, leave a comment down below saying I subscribe, so I can personally reach out and thank you for supporting the channel. Also, don't forget to hit the bell icon and select all, so you do get notified every time I do put out new content. Guys, I have over 200 videos on tips, tricks, rides, reviews, and installs on these Harley Davidson touring motorcycles. And I have playlists by install, by product type, by bike type, so that there's probably something else there that you will find that can help you do a project like this, and probably even save you some money by not having to take the bike into the shop to get that job done. So guys, with that, I want to leave you with this thought. Life is short, get out and ride the bike. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye now.